Alex, where are we this morning, different to where we were when the Sun first broke the story, on Thursday last week?
So this morning we've got the police coming in to the BBC today to have conversations with them to try and get to the bottom of the facts and the complaint. It's been quite a fast-moving story. We've also heard reports overnight that the family has voiced its dissatisfaction with the way in which the BBC handled the complaint initially. And I think a lot of the way in which this plays out will be around that. Once the family contacted the BBC back in May, what did it do? Who knew about it? What kind of action was taken? And was it serious enough? And I think that those are really some of the questions that the BBC has to answer. And at the same time, the police is going to be looking into these allegations and whether there was any criminality.
There seems to be, the BBC, I think, has said that when it was contacted in May, originally, they looked into it, but there seems to be some discrepancy or disagreement between what the mother and the child were saying.
Yeah, I think my understanding of the situation is that the BBC was contacted. Attempts were made to elicit more information about the claims, and it seems as if whatever was provided, if anything was provided, was insufficient. Therefore, the BBC found itself in a challenging position whereby it was aware of some allegations, unable to verify them, felt obliged to, didn't feel like it had sufficient evidence to suspend the individual involved. Fast forward a few weeks, the new evidence comes to light via the Sun newspaper, which then enables it to act.
And of course, the Sun, and indeed nobody else, has named the person, even though they've now been suspended, so they won't be appearing on air. As a result, there were lots of prominent male BBC presenters who, over the weekend, felt they had to come out and say, "Oh, it's not me."
Yeah, I mean, this is another facet to this. There is a relatively small pool of high-profile BBC male presenters, and as increasing numbers of those individuals rule themselves out, the potential individual who this could be referring to becomes smaller and smaller.
Yeah. But in fact, this morning, the 5 Live presenter, Nicky Campbell's, used his show to confirm he was seeking legal action against those online who've accused him of being the presenter. Let's take a listen to this.
A bit of perspective here. Worse things happen at sea, as they say. But it was a distressing weekend. I can't deny it, for me and others falsely named. Today, I'm having further conversations with the police in terms of malicious communication and with lawyers in terms of defamation.
I mean, so he's now turning to lawyers. And actually, the one thing that really struck me over the weekend, last week we were talking a lot about Twitter and threads and so on, was the Twitter trending panel was just full of names of BBC presenters aligned with these allegations.
Yeah, I mean, and this is where, social media butts up against privacy laws. And whilst none of the press has been, or the broadcasters have been naming the individual, users feel emboldened to. That's Nicky Campbell there sending a message that even if you are a small individual with an individual with a very small number of followers, you nevertheless have to obey the law, or else you could find yourself in problems.
And Twitter's always argued, and other platforms always argued, they are a platform, not a publisher. They're not responsible for the content on it. But if their own trending panel, I don't know what you call that box that everyone can see, are they not responsible for that? Is there not is that crossover into it? Because they are publishing that information.
Yeah, I mean, and that is certainly an argument. It's one they've always shied away from. They've always said that they're not responsible for the content on their platform. If they do accept liability, that takes them down a whole different route of regulation and legalities, and that's not a place that the platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, have ever wanted to go down, because they don't want to have to deal with the legal minefield that surrounds such issues.